So this is my response to the Davos question. I've done some thinking on it, and I've watched a lot of the videos that are up on YouTube already, and I've gotten some interesting ideas. One of the more common themes seems to be research and development. That there needs to be some kind of research and development done. What it is varies or is unknown for the most part. So going off of that, going for one of the things that I, as a student for most of my life, actually know about is the school system. I did some research and I found out that most of the school systems are very irregular. They have a very lax system on when students move to what grades and what schools and what happens at those schools and what graduating from those schools means. And this is on a worldwide basis, not so much looking at country to country. Country to country, there still seems to be some or more consistency on what gets them from elementary to middle school to high school to college and so on, things like that. But the grade range again varies, and these irregularities are causing irregularities in the students and inefficiency for the most part on both the schools and the students' behalf. So the thought came to me to restructure the schooling system and start from the top and work down to the bottom. This is pretty much a simple situation. This would be just a matter of sitting down with the schools and saying, all right, this is what we need to do in order to better the students. And the reason for doing this would be, of course, if you have students that learn better, that you have students that learn more things, and these are the guys who are going to turn around and do the research and development that we are so desperate in need. It is a short or longer term process than this 2008, or at least getting down to the bigger issues. But this is a start on getting things done. So starting at the college level, looking at things college has always been called the higher education or the secondary schooling. I think we really need to look at is it really higher education anymore? Is there any way to have a successful life without college? Now, there's a lot of different situations out there, and don't get me wrong, that it's not necessary, but the average of students who are graduating from high school compared to the average of students who are graduating from college, and the variances in their lives show that the fact that if they are able to go to college and get that higher education, that they're better off. So I think we need to stop referring to it as higher education and refer to it as a necessary education and make this part of the system. So, but part of this would be rescheduling who learns what, when, and where. And by doing this, you start off in elementary school and you learn your basics. And that would pretty much stay close to the same. You get to middle school, you've got kind of the same thing going on. You're still learning more basics. You're building on the skills that you have. I'd like to see a lot more social interaction skills built. I think the generation behind us, the millennium generation, has a better chance at this. Studies have shown that they are more group-minded thinkers, that they are better to just grab in with a group of people and start being a think tank more than individual-based, which was a lot of what Generation X was. So you've got more social interaction that you've being taught in middle schools, along with everything else that middle schools teach with higher arithmetic, higher reading and writing, than from elementary schools. And then getting into the high school. And the high school is the part where I really have a problem with. And the problem comes from the concept of these being the best years of your life. I really think we need to just throw this right out the window. These aren't the best years of your life. These are just 4 years in the beginning of your life. That's all it is. It's a stepping stone towards the better part of your life, which is when you get to college, you get to have better learning and get to find out who you are, and then beyond that, you get to establish yourself in the world. I mean, what's better than that? But anyway, so when you get to high school, what you have is the continuation of the building of skills, but obviously more on an advanced level now. But at the same time, the offering of more electives, more liberal ideas. So, but offering these in schools is is a hard thing sometimes because of lack of interest from students or not enough students in a program to justify funding or anything like that. And that's on a school-to-school basis. Everyone's offering this. So my thought is take a high school, and so on certain days you go to your high school, you learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, maybe some basic science, maybe anything else that might be deemed necessary for everyone to have. And then on another day, 2 out of 3 days a week, or 3 out of 2 or 3 and 2 out of the 5, or 2 and 3 out of the 5, depending on what ratio is needed. You go to a different school, basically, and this would be a citywide process where you take an entire city and you take all the high schools and you cram them into different schools. And then what these schools would be doing, it would be teaching specifics upon what the students wanted to learn, such things as maybe computer programming, aviation, a medical, being a lawyer, all these different things you do. And these are the things that normally would be introduced until college. What you're doing here is you're laying a base framework down, so they learn, they have a basic understanding of these things, so that when they get to college, you can skip past those intermediate or these beginning classes, and that just where you're mulling through and just trying to get the basic information. You can get that out of the way, and then you can continue on to the actual more important stuff. Of course, doing this means that at high school you're asking a student to figure out what they want to do. Well, this is a hard thing to do as a high school student. I know personally it took me quite a while to figure out what I wanted to do. But finding out, so part of this is so you've got them going through elementary school, you got your basics, you go to your middle school, you still get your basics, and now you're getting intersocial skills, so you learn how to communicate, and you learn how to do it effectively. Then you get to high school, and you're like, okay, now I've got my basics, these are my advanced basics, and I'm really getting this down, and I really know what I'm doing, and now I'm going to take these, I'm going to apply to the specialty that I want to do. Well, this specialty is, well, maybe I don't want to do that for the rest of my life, but I'm going to do this now. I'm going to stick with this all the way through the program, and then I'm going to get to college, and I'm going to go through all that, and then I'm going to get a career, and I'm going to see if I like that. Now, and you get to this point, and you're like, okay, well, what if I don't like it? Well, then what you do is you offer re-education, which normally is a bad term for most people. They hear re-education and think we're, programming minds. But what you basically do is you go, okay, you didn't like what you did. Maybe make an extended period of time where they have to work for so long in this certain situation. And then go, okay, now that you've done all this and you don't like it, we understand that, do it again. You go back, and then you have a separate high school system or a specific school learning system where you're not teaching the arithmetic and the base advanced stuff anymore, but you're just putting them into a specific school and saying, okay, what do you want to do, or what would you think you want to do this time, and do the same thing. You make them go all the way through the program, all the way through college, and then you get them into their specific role again, and then they have them go through that trial time, and then continue to offer this. And then this may mean that some people switch and all continuously throughout their lives, but that's quite all right. I'm sure at some point or another they'll be offering to the fields that they're in something or another. But basically what this offers is a higher education standard for students. Also, one of the things I forgot to mention was be making college free in this, which it would be a fantastic thing. I know I'd love it in my current situation. And it would be a huge relief for a lot of parents out there, but it really would be. And that would come to my question in the beginning: is higher education really higher anymore? Is it not considered a necessary thing now for the work field in most cases? So making that free, so you can just do this process over and over again. Well, where does all this money come from? Well, simple and understanding, it comes from the governments. You start taking, or actually, better yet, it comes from the companies, so that way we've got the other part of it that's in here. Now, what does that mean for companies? It means we maybe throw in a little bit more tax from them, because they can afford it for the most part. You take big businesses and you say, okay, you're going to give so much of your profits each year, and you're going to turn that into basically funding for these schools. So that way you've got a restructured program all the way from beginning to end, that is funded through companies and the government, that is regulated and systematic in order to get the research and development that we will need in order to fix the problems that we have. Yes, it's a long-term thing for fixing the problems that we have right now, but it's a start on the road to that progress.